Hey guys, so in this video I just wanted to talk about revisement and stinging and clinging on to old ideals. I just thought this was important because in past videos I have talked about different organizations like Orville and things like that, and how it seems they haven't varied much from the values and ideals of their leaders and what they planned, even though it was more than a few decades ago. And I think the most prominent example is the United States, when they haven't changed much since the Constitution in the 1800s. And things have changed. Slavery was allowed back then. It was a whole different world. It wasn't as secure. What people don't understand is the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was made because it was a new nation, and they wanted to make sure that the British or no one else would come back and try and take what's theirs, and also what they call the First Nations problem, which they took the first indigenous people's lands and they had to keep themselves protected in case they came and got it back. That was the whole fundamentalism behind it. And now it's become this whole American way, and this is what we need, and this is fundamental rights, even though not every country has this. And no country has these school shootings. And I've actually learned, apparently the United States is the only country, or one of the only countries, that doesn't consider a mass shooting, a terrorist event. In most countries, a mass shooting is considered a terrorist event, not just someone who's mentally ill. And generally people who commit atrocities like this have some sort of mental thing, or they're part of a larger group, or they have some sort of ideals that make them think that it's okay to do what they did. But what I basically am getting by this is, I think what I propose in a world government is one of the things I've maintained is that even though these are my ideas and hopefully I'd like them to contribute to society, I know that not everyone will agree with it. And if the majority wants to make some changes, or in the future they need to make changes because they've discovered new evidence or new things, then I think that should be okay and I think it should be done. I think we need to encourage more critical thinking and not being stubborn and stick by the rules and stick by what our ancestors have claimed before us. And I think this is still why we're still in this international chaos system, since no one's really wanting to band together. And what the main focus is, the European Union, the whole goal of the founders of the European Union was to make a federal European state combined with all these countries. Kind of like the United States of America, the United States of Europe in that sense. But it never came to be, and far-right and nationalism has really gotten into the discourse nowadays. And you know what happened last time far-right was becoming increasingly prominent? That was the time of World War II. And it's scary it's coming this way. So many rights, so many new ideas to help people have come, and it's being teared down right now, right in front of our eyes. And I think it's getting very scary, and that's why I wanted to wait till I was a scholar, till I got my PhD, till I actually talked about these with years of experience and actually having a doctorate. But the thing is, I feel like I cannot wait, and I feel like we cannot wait anymore, and I need to have these ideas out there, because we're getting so close to the end of the world. If you watch the, what was it called? The End of the World, on Netflix, the one that Barack Obama helped make with this new tactical warfare. Warfare isn't the traditional thing that it used to be. It's ever changing. I do think nuclear war will happen, but some people go, it might be more unconventional methods. And I think a lot of people still have this realism approach, a liberalist approach, and I think what we've seen through the evidence, which is what we've been using for years now, it's not working. And it's even gotten worse over time. And I think we need to stop respecting these sovereign states, because who decided? Who decided that this is their land and we need to separate humanity and separate them differently? And it's also why I propose a society where no matter where you are in the world, no matter if you move to another city, you are under the same laws and have the same rights and freedoms as anybody else in the entire world. Because I think what we don't understand is that when these ideas were made, we had different technology. And the reason why cities, there were different laws and different things for cities, and why countries had to be managed in such a small area. And it's why countries like the Canada and United States, since they came later, they were a lot bigger. And it's had some problems as well. And of course, Canada, we have a very small population. But what people don't understand is that was made in a time when we didn't have the technology and the digital and social media that we have now, where we are connected, and CCTV and things like that. Like, there is no reason why we cannot have a world government where the same laws are applied everywhere, and we can have a really secure and state with a lot of fundamental freedoms, such as shelter, food, water, and things like that. And I think also what's gotten to, like, the whole capitalist system, if you believe in the Marxist trend, which I do, a lot of ideas and a lot of things, it was first made by people wanting money, and then they justified themselves by having a moral or a political ideology afterwards, like slavery and war. It's the whole purpose was money, and then they added a political ideology or morality, so the common man will understand. And I think what's different, and what's weird, things haven't changed that much, is that back then the society was mostly illiterate, and they needed leaders to help the people, and it was mostly aristocrats and higher people, and people who were more intelligent and had literate backgrounds and probably from wealthier families. And it's still, even though we have, most places have become more literate and educated and not filled with propaganda and have critical thinking, that why do we still need politicians to represent us when we easily have our own ideas? And again, back then, not everyone could sit at a round table. Like, the only reason that we can ask them because there was such a small amount. Now we have augmented democracy. That's a new idea. I've discussed it before. So how come, I just want people to think about this. Reply if you want. But how come we are still following the rules made by people who would think we were doing witchcraft and spells, or maybe getting help from the gods today with all the technology? When you think about it, what we have today would astound them. They wouldn't believe it. And I do like the thing of, try selling bottled water to a medieval man. He'd be like, that's ridiculous. It's water. Why do I need to pay for it? That's the exact example. And maybe, hunter-gatherer tribes even today, try to explain to them why they have to pay for something that they need to live. And if they can't afford it, they will starve to death. Explain the reasoning. I don't understand it. I don't know how anyone can understand why people shouldn't have the basic right to live. This is worse than animals. I've said this before. At least with animals, you had, they were fighting for the food, but generally, if they're carnivores, that's a different story. But for herbivores or omnivores, they had berries that they could go from, and territorial disputes weren't too bad, especially if they were individual like animals. But now, there's food right in front of you and you can't get it. It's insane to me. And I just hope this helps you guys think. And remember, don't get stuck in the old ways. Remember, it's a new world and new ideas need to be formed.